Morning, friends. It's Heather at Bush Puppy Farm. I hope you are doing well. It's a very cold morning here. We went down to 26 Fahrenheit last night. Actually hit freezing at midnight. So it was at that temperature. It was at a low temperature below freezing for many, many hours. We are just now climbing out of it, and it is almost 10 o'clock a.m. So yeah, this is the first time I've noticed this ever, but the first, like the top half inch of our soil is frozen. That's never happened before, at least in my knowledge, for the 7 years that I've been here. So I'm waiting a little bit for it to thaw before I do anything like hoeing or anything like that. But what I am going to do today is I've been hardening off a bunch of these seedlings. You look at all the roots there. I've been hardening these off outside for the past 3 days, and I think they're ready. These are cold, hardy vegetables. We're going to go ahead and put these in the green stock that's over by my bedroom. It's got, it gets morning sun, and that's kind of the warmest spot during the day because it just heats up the walls around it. So I think these guys will do really well in there. It'll get more sun. They'll get more sun than if they were out in the front garden where it's still somewhat shaded because of the big trees we have around us. It's going to be like another couple of weeks before we're going to get enough sun in that garden for things to really grow because the sun will be higher in the sky. So this is what we're going to start with today, and then we'll see what else we've got on tap. Okay, so here's the green stock I was talking about. This is their pink color. I can't remember what it's called. I think right now they're actually having a sale on this particular color because it sells out every time they have it in stock. So check it out if you want to. I'm not affiliated with them. I don't even think they know who I am, but I do have 3 green stalks, and this is one of them. This is a nice deep pocket here. So I do have some peppers in the top here that are overwintering, and look at them. They actually look great. It's crazy to me because it's been going down the last couple of nights into the 20s, and they're doing okay. Anyway, they're just up here because I don't know. It's an experiment. They probably won't make it, and I'll have to pull them out, but I just want to see. Okay, so then the rest of these pockets, for the most part, are empty. I do have a couple of herbs like this. There's a Bergarten sage down here that I just cut back all the way, and I'm expecting them to grow back. There's a pineapple sage there. It got huge. It got like, way too tall. Cut that back. So I have a bunch of empty pockets, and we've got a whole bunch of seedlings here that are going to, oh, my hands are cold, that are going to go into these empty pockets. It will be easy to get to them because they're right outside of the house. They'll get a lot of morning sun. And like I said, it stays warmer because we've got this, there's like a wall here and then also back there. And so it heats up during the day from the sun, and it reflects that heat even after sunset. Now it's much worse in the summertime. It's pretty brutal here. But for now, I think it'll be good for them. And this soil is not frozen, unlike the soil that's in the bed right over here in the cottage garden. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and start transplanting these. Now, I'm not going to replace this soil, but I am going to go grab my starter fertilizer and mix some in. This soil went in last year, and I grew some lettuces in here, and then of course these peppers on the top. But other than that, there was just a few herbs. And so the soil is not really depleted, especially down lower in these pockets. So I'm going to go grab my starter fertilizer. We'll mix a little bit in, and then we'll start transplanting these guys, and I'll show you what we've got in just a minute. Okay, the starter fertilizer I use is the kind that it's just a brand that we carry locally here. I know a lot of people love Espoma. We hardly get any Espoma products here, which is a bummer because we're in California and they generally sold a lot over in Oregon. Anyway, EB Stone, great company. This is the fertilizer that I use. Now, any starter fertilizer you can use. It doesn't have to be any specific brand, whatever you've got near you. This is a very gentle fertilizer for starting at transplants. So it's not going to, it's a 4-6-2, so it's not going to burn the roots. It's slow release. So it's really great for getting guys a jump start. Okay, so what do we have to go in these pockets? We have a 6-pack here of mesclun, lettuce greens, and look, there's roots coming out the bottom. These, by the way, are the Epic 6-cell 6-packs from Epic Gardening. They, yes, they're plastic, but I bought these with the idea that they are super sturdy plastic that's going to last me for probably a decade or two. It's the same thing with the plastic trays I get from Bootstrap Farmer. They're very heavy duty plastic. It's not single use. It's not even, I mean, I've had some of these for 4 years and they look brand new. So if you're going to invest in plastic, do it wisely. Get something that's really going to last for a very, very long time. And these, they're so strong, you can actually stand on them when they're empty, and they'll hold your weight. So, but I love them because they have these giant holes in the bottom, which make it easy to pop out the plug. And then they also have little slits in all the pockets for air pruning of roots. So it's really great. They grow really good seedlings. All right. So we got that mesclun. Then we have this beautiful all-star kale. Look at those roots. So this stuff is doing really, really well, and it likes the cold. It's going to be just fine out here. We have a 6-pack of beets, which I don't normally ever start in 6-packs. Normally I direct sow these, but they've been really struggling in direct sowing lately because of our rodent issue. So these may not survive, and I'm totally okay with that. I'm just going to pop these in a pocket, and 6 pockets in the green stock. And if we get beets, we get beets. If not, there's always the next succession that goes out in the garden. Okay, then we also have perpetual spinach. Now, I've never grown this before. It is a type of chard, but it is a perennial chard. So I'm really excited about that. We will see how it does. I may end up having to move this to the front garden when it gets really hot here this summer, because it may just not survive in this grain stock with our heat. Then we have collards. I love collard greens. So I have, looks like each cell has a plant, but some of them definitely more hardy than others. But yeah, collard greens, they actually get sweeter with, like carrots, with the cold. So they're going to go in. Then the last two we have, there's a baby radicchio blend here. And again, roots coming out the bottom. These guys are ready. And they have, like I said, been hardening off the last 4 days. I've brought them out in the morning when it's still been in the upper 30s or 40s, set them in a place where they would get sun for about 3 or 4 hours, and then take them in the evening before the sun sets. So they've been outside all the time, getting about the same amount of sun they'll get here, and also being exposed to much colder temperatures. Okay, and then the final one is kohlrabi. So I have 6 of these, and again, more roots coming out the bottom. So we'll see. I hope everything, I mean, green stalks do a great job of growing things. And in the past, I've always put this stuff out in the front garden, but it's never really done well. Either it's gotten eaten by rodents, etc., or it just doesn't thrive because there's not enough sun. So I'm hoping this is a solution to that problem. Okay, so almost everything is in. The beets I put in a different spot, I'll show you. Beets are right over here in the cottage garden. There's an easy place here with nothing growing, and I went ahead and popped those in. They may or may not survive. I really am not that concerned one way or the other, because I'm going to start more anyway in the front garden in the next couple weeks. You may be wondering why I watered, because we've been getting so much rain, as this green stalk is underneath the eaves, and it doesn't get any water, even in heavy rains, and it was dry. It was bone dry. So what I did was I watered each pocket to give the seedlings immediate water, and then I put water in the top until it ran out the bottom. So now all of the tiers in there have water, and they are slow dripping. I don't know if you can see that, but they are slow dripping. So they'll be good for a while. I can check them tomorrow to make sure. The other thing I'm going to do, since tonight is going to go down into the 20s again, is green stalks actually come, well, you can buy separately. They have a frost cover that fits over the whole green stalk. So I have one. I'm going to put that over the green stalk tonight. That will protect those guys, especially because they'll be sitting in wet soil. So I'll put the frost cover over, and then they'll be fine. I still have my citrus covered, and it's going to stay this way all day today. They get sun through here, and then tonight and through tomorrow until the frost is gone. After that, we'll be getting 3 or 4 days of heavy rain, but no temperatures below like 40. So that will be fine. This particular frost cover, really awesome. I got it for the first time in the fall. It's got a zipper on one end and ties at the bottom, so you can like yank it closed if you want. This is actually for trees. It's an individual frost cover for a single tree, but I have it over 3 citrus, and there's also a hydrangea under here just because it happens to be here. It's a nice, huge, it's so easy to put on. I mean, it's a lot of fabric to move around, but compared to what I was doing for the last couple of years, which is like putting in stakes and wrapping frost cover around and trying to clip it and everything, when we get high winds, it's just a disaster. So this is so much better. The other thing I did off camera was clean my pots and tray. I still have lots to clean, but these are the ones that most recently got used, and they've been washed with soap and water. My hands are a little cold, but I'm really glad I did that, because this week I have a ton more seeds to start, and I'm going to need those for some of them. Some will go in soil blocks and some will go in 6-packs. So I still have this mess to deal with, and it is a mess. Some of this, like these two, those are two, that's an empty container of fish emulsion. This is an empty container of peppermint oil spray for rodents. They just need to get recycled. There's a lot of stuff in here that needs to get recycled. Like these, super cheap. Like I would never buy these again. I feel terrible about this. These were little pots for seedlings. And as you can see, just being in the sun did that to them. This is like a whole, it's just awful. So some of the ones that I can keep, I will keep and reuse again this year, but a lot of them are so warped that they're going to need to get tossed. And unfortunately, nobody will recycle these. So I also have all of these, which I will use for, this is going to be the 4th year running. These need to be cleaned out. I do save pots like this because it's good for potting up. So I have a bunch back there that need to be scrubbed out. And then these are plug trays from getting plugs from the wholesaler plug supplier. And these are super useful for starting things like sunflowers, especially these. This is a 50, or not, I don't think it's 50, maybe it's, oh yeah, it is 50. So these are great because they are wide cells, and the sunflowers can live a little bit longer in there, but I do also use these. So all of this, I just need to disinfect because this week is the first week of sunflower successions that I'm starting as seed. So yeah, there's just a whole bunch of stuff back here. I've got pots that are perfectly good that need to be scrubbed out and disinfected. It just always falls to the bottom of the list. Kind of the nice thing of having them being out here getting all this rain is that they've washed away a lot of the dirt. So now I just need to kind of like go over them a bit with a scrub brush a little bit and then disinfect them, and they'll be good to go. To disinfect, I use a 2 tablespoons of bleach in a gallon of water, and I just dunk them in and then let them air dry out in the sun. So I have never had a problem with transferring diseases and stuff. And sometimes I'm not good about cleaning trays. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm great about that, because sometimes I will just dump like a 6-pack. If I'm in a rush, I'll dump it out, put new soil in, and go ahead. But if I had noticed any kind of disease on there, like mold or anything like that, I wouldn't do that. I would just go ahead and clean them. Okay, next up, we are going to start a tray of radishes. I just love radishes, and they grow so fast. They're like 25 to 30 days, depending on your variety. So I do have this. Is an old planter. It's got a tray on the bottom for water. I'm going to fill this guy with soil, and we'll put some starter fertilizer in here, and then we'll direct sow some radishes. I just need to go find a couple of packs that I want to sow. Okie doke, I've got my tray here. It's full of soil. This is potting soil. I could use seed starter, but these guys are going to be in here for, you know, a month. And so I think it's just better to go ahead and use potting soil. I'm going to add some Sure Start fertilizer. And then the 2 varieties that we are putting in here today are the Easter Basket Mix. This one's from Baker Creek. And then these are Cherry Bell from Hudson Valley Seed. I'm not going to bother trying to create rows or anything. I'm going to add in the starter fertilizer, mix it around, and then I'm just going to lightly sprinkle these on the surface and then kind of slightly mix them in. So anything that comes up super close, I can always thin and eat the radish tops, or I can do kind of the Charles Dowding multi-sow method, where there's a bunch in one spot, they grow, you pull out some stuff as it's ready to eat, and then the other ones stay and get bigger. So yeah, we'll just see. This is just another way to get some more yummy radishes, and this will be nice and warm in here, so they will germinate faster, they'll grow faster than the ones that are currently out in the garden, which are still itty bitty, even though they were sown, you know, in November. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this done. Then I'll talk about some more seed starting we're gonna be doing. Okay, so pretty much every week from here through March, we're going to be starting seeds. I don't necessarily have to film it all the time, but there's some varieties, like some in the selection I have here, that I think you might be interested in because they're kind of cool. The rest of what I need to start this week is a bunch of marigolds for the farm, and also for the seedling sale. There's lots of varieties. Those are all going to go into soil blocks, so I'm going to do that on a separate day. What I wanted to tell you is when I was filling the trays, I mean the 6-packs, what went into that soil mix was a seed starter mix, a potting mix, some compost, bagged compost, some worm castings, and some mycorrhizal fungi. Now, this particular mix has a little bit of like wood in it in places. This is not a mix that I would use for soil blocks. I actually will. I have a sifter here, and I put this screen in it, and I'll sift the the seed starting mix through that. It takes a long time, but it gets out all the bark, every bit, and you're left with a really fine powder, basically, soil. And I noticed that makes the germination so much better because there's really good seed to soil contact because you don't have those like pieces of bark and stuff in there. But For these particular seeds, I'm not too worried. Some of them are quite large, and I'm only doing these in 6-packs. These are not for the farm necessarily. Some of them might go in pollinator beds out there, but some of them are going to go in the front garden or in the cottage garden or to customers in the flower garden in a box kits, which I've already started selling, which is nice. So I can always restart some of these seeds. All of these guys are different times to maturity, but they're all, the reason I'm starting them now is all of them have this 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date to start. Okay, so the first one is Cleptega, also known as, I think, lion's ear. Not really going to see much on this picture here. I'll try to pop a picture in for you, but they can get up to 6 to 8 feet high. They are a member of the mint family, and so they do spread like crazy. But they have a bunch, so it's like little balls of hummingbird-sized tubular flowers, usually in red. And so it's like a stem with these little clusters of flowers down the stem. Hopefully I can find a picture for you. They're really, really cool. It's great if you want to put these in front of a window because then you can watch the hummingbirds come. And they do self-sow, but not as excessively as other mint varieties. 70 days to maturity, which is pretty fast. And it's not fussy. It's like most mints, it doesn't really care too much about where you plant it. Full sun gives you more flowers, but it will do well in partial shade. However, because of the tall nature of these stems, the wind can crack them and blow them over. So you might want to put them in a place that's a little more wind protected. So we're going to be starting a 6-pack of these. These grow very well around here. They're native to South Africa, so they're not native here in California, but it is used a lot, especially up like in the vineyards areas for their their wine tasting areas. It's a beautiful plant, and it gets really big, and so they use it in bedding arrangements a lot. So I'm looking forward to growing this. The next one is Lavender Cloud Nicotiana. This one, Nicotiana is tobacco leaf, basically. They have really lovely scent to them. They can make a decent cut flower, but they bloom at night. So it's a little weird to put into a bouquet because they will be closed up during the day. But you still can do it. Okay, so these are 65 days from seed to transplant. And so, of course, now is the time. This is a heat-loving annual, and it really wants full sun and average well-drained soil and moderate water. It's in the same family, like I said, as tobacco leaf and also tomatoes. It's a solanaceous crop. Okay, next one is Meadow Arnica. And this one is also 90 days. Arnica has a lot. It's a cute, adorable flower. It's a really nice plant. But it also, what I like to grow it for is making salves out of it. Arnica is great for pain relief. It's good for cuts and scrapes and things like that. So I really, I like this one. I buy Arnica, but I'm like, if I can make it myself, then I will do that. So the seed can take up to 3 weeks to germinate, so be patient. Ideal temperature for germination is 55 degrees. And then it thrives in full sun and in well-drained, poor soil. So this is like a lot of tropical plants. Tropical soils, it's kind of counterintuitive if you think about it, because when you think about tropical places, you think about all the lushness and especially in like rainforests and stuff. But the soils are actually usually pretty terrible in terms of they drain really quickly, so they don't hold water for long. They're nutrient deficient, and so a lot of the plants that have adapted to those environments really don't take well to being well tended to. So you just kind of plant them, put them in a spot that you don't really need to go to very often, and then leave them and they'll do their thing. Okay, and then I'm going to grow wild bergamot. Now this is, you can either direct sow this or sow it indoors. I'm going to sow it indoors. This is a perennial, so it's going to take a whole year before this produces any flowers for me, but that's totally fine. The leaves and the foliage are also edible. And if you've ever had bergamot tea, bergamot is what is in Earl Grey. I love that flavor. So that's where it comes from. It's susceptible to powdery mildew. So be sure to give plants adequate space and water at the roots rather than overhead, and put them in full sun and moist soil. So these are going to go in the front garden where they will get water that's on a regulated system, and I can keep a close eye on them, but I love wild bergamot. All right, only 2 flowers left. We have black-eyed Susan vine, Thunbergia. Now, I have tried to start this direct sowed multiple times because that's the recommended way to do it. It's a beautiful vine. For the most part, it's an annual, but it can be perennial in zones 10 and 11. However, we are in zone 9, so it would die back. Every time I have started it from direct sown, it germinates, but then it gets eaten immediately. So I don't know what it is about these. So this time, just like the peas, my edible peas, I am starting it in a 6-pack. Usually when when a seed pack says to direct sow, it's because the plant doesn't like its roots to be disturbed. But I figure I'd much rather do this and actually have a plant to transplant than to direct sow, have it get up to this big and then disappear. So that's what I'm going to do. It blooms all summer into fall, and it's just a beautiful, prolific vine. Don't know yet where I'm going to put it. And actually, the interesting thing is I've decided I'm going to put some of these peas that I've started, and they're looking great. They have germinated, and they're starting to grow tall. I'm actually going to put those in the strawberry containers on my side porch. There's already trellises there. I'm going to put a plant at each trellis point, so there will be 4 plants per container. And peas and strawberries grow great together. They're actually a really good companion plant. The peas deliver lots of nitrogen to the soil, which is great because strawberries are heavy feeders. So I think it's going to be fun. And it'll be really nice to be able to literally open my side door and step outside to get peas. It's a wonderful spring treat. Plus, I can almost guarantee that the rodents won't get to them there. I lose the peas to birds and rodents in the front garden. And so I still get them, but not in the harvest that I always hope, because half of the plants or more get eaten before they can get big enough to produce. Okay, then I have one called Felix. It is an Italian dandelion. Now you're probably wondering why on earth I would plant a dandelion. This is I'll put a photo here for you. You can grow it anytime. You can grow it any time of the year. It's pretty hardy, as you can imagine, because most dandelions are. And the leaves are edible. So they're edible at the baby stage and larger. And I like dandelion leaves. They make a really great tea. It not necessarily tastes good, but it's good for you. There's a lot of iron in it. In fact, when I was pregnant with my first child, I was having a lot of issues, and an acupuncturist prescribed dandelion tea to me, and that made a huge difference in my iron levels. Huge. It improved my health quite a bit. And actually, I liked the bitter flavor because anything sweet was bothersome for me in pregnancy. So they're a type of chicory plants. They have that kind of bitter quality, and I love bitter things. But the other reason I'm growing it is that my chickens love dandelion, and I can get big dandelion leaves for them like this. Usually in the spring, I'm scouring the tiny bit of grass that we have for dandelion leaves for them. They love them so much, and it's good for them. So I'm going to grow them. I'll start with a 6-pack, but I might just put a whole tray, like spread soil on the surface and just grow a whole tray of this, just like I do with mustard seeds. Okay, and then the final 2 things we're going to be starting today are okra. This one is a burgundy okra. And then I have Clemson spineless. Now, I know okra is controversial because a lot of people don't like it, but I grew up in the South and I really like okra. You have to prepare it the proper way in order for it to not be slimy. But I love what we put it in. I love it fried. I just love okra. And so and also it's a really pretty plant. I mean, look at those flowers. the plant itself is really pretty. So I'm going to start those this year. I did have one survive the rodent attack last year in the front garden, but it was planted so late and it took so much abuse by the time it finally got to the point where it flowered, and it was getting late in the season. So I got one okra fruit off of it. So this year I'm hoping to actually get a harvest. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I've made all my tags. Everything's ready. I'm going to put them in the trays, and we're going to go ahead and get these sown. Well, that job is done. I do need to go get some more, number one, potting soil, but also seed starters so that I can make soil block mix, like I talked about. And like I said, we're going to get another atmospheric river starting Tuesday night, so tomorrow night. I'm hoping tomorrow I'm going to go check the soil at the farm. I need to take a soil sample, but also I'm going to see if I can get one more bed done, because next week we have a bunch of plugs, Bupleurum, Campanula, and all the Lisianthus arriving. Now, they don't have to go out immediately, but they're going to be in small plug trays like I showed you earlier today. And those little plugs, number one, they need to be watered constantly because they dry out really quickly. The plants can get, root bound. That is not a long-term stay. So I do have space already out at the farm to put a lot of those in. We've had some crop loss just, from cold or birds or whatever, no gopher crop loss. So I do have spaces in the beds that are already planted where I can put things like the Bupleurum, the Campanula and stuff. The Lisianthus, there's one full bed ready for them, which is great, but I probably need 2 beds. So I'm hoping to get just that final bed, the one that I have opened, I have a cage in there now, just need to fill it with soil. So I would like to get that done tomorrow, put the irrigation down and the landscape fabric, and then that will be ready to go for next week when we get a break in the weather. Also, after this next big rain, I'm hoping we won't have any more frosts. But sometimes we get frost through the end of March into April, which is crazy because our supposed last frost date is like February 15th, which it's not at all, never is. But I would like to get some of these larger perennials into the cottage garden next week, just to start making more space in here. Like all these calendula are good size. I think they'll be okay, but I'd have to harden them off first. We've got some salvias that are decent size, but I think they want to stay a little bit longer in here. And then all of these freesia, those could probably go pretty soon. We've got catnip back here, and then all these violas, those can handle it if it gets cold again. But these all need to be hardened off first before I can do that. And I can't harden them off over the next 4 days because this is going to be dumping rain and chilly. So not good for hardening off seedlings. Yeah, so we'll just have to play it by ear. But I'm going to get to the point in the next week or two where I'm going to need to start up potting all the tomatoes. There's a bunch in here. Some of them didn't do so well in the blocks, like you can see right here. Actually, that's not a tomato seedling. But they're droopy. This block has got plenty of soil, water in it. I just watered them this morning. I may have to start a few additional ones, depends on how many orders I get for tomatoes. But we've got these 2 trays, and then there's some more 6-packs down here of tomatoes. These guys have a lot longer to go before they need to be up potted. But when I up pot, then obviously they take up a lot more space. So yes, as things are going, I'd like to start getting stuff out of here. Here's some more perennials that can go out pretty soon. There's mullein back there, which is great. We've got Sorrent, which is getting bigger. And the penstemon is still pretty small, but like, yeah, this guy, they're getting good size to start putting out. There's hyssop, things like that. So I do want to start doing a lot of transplanting over the next 3 to 4 weeks so that I can start being able to bump up some of the things that need to stay in here, like tomatoes and peppers. I mean, the peppers haven't even germinated yet. They've been in this tray on heat for 2 weeks, and they haven't even germinated yet, which makes me a little concerned. I mean, yes, it's been cold, but they are on a heat mat, and they've stayed under this humidity dome. So I don't know. I'm thinking it's just a time thing, because something should have germinated by now. But if nothing's germinating, it can't be the seed, because that didn't make any sense. Oh no, I'm sorry. I see a few. A few have popped up, but only a few. So I just need to be patient. You know, peppers, it's cold, so they don't, even though they're on a heat mat, and I keep the greenhouse at 60 degrees overnight, that's still cold for peppers. So I just need to be patient and not panic and start more. All right, that's gonna be it for me today, you guys. I have some errands to run to get more soil so that we can continue some projects tomorrow. Hopefully, like I said, at the farm to do that bed. It would be great to have that done and ready for next week when plugs arrive. So I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for joining me. Bye.